Okay, I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda, anything to remove? If not, entertain a motion to accept or to approve.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome everybody in attendance, either live or online. No citizens request. Committee reports. Gail, you've got Administration, Personnel, Finance Committee, May 26th.
Yeah, opened the meeting at 4:45. First topic of agenda was the new organizational chart. We had a couple of changes that we asked Chrissy to make, and she did that. And the chart then is on the council agenda here tonight. At the same time, we also then discussed and the main thing about the change is changing the city clerk zoning administrator into a city administrator, city clerk position with more of the departments reporting to her. So then we discussed wages, and one thing was the bump up on the city clerk, city administrator, city clerk position. Even though it's more, we are still saving a couple $1,000 because she will not have any overtime in the future. And then the increases are also on tonight's meeting.
Any questions of Gail? Thanks, Gail. Kate, Public Safety.
We met at 4 p.m. on May 28th. Most of us here, some of us by Zoom. First item discussed was the police department wanting to look at another squad car. Current Explorer is a 17, I believe, and it's in the shop right now for repairs, so about time to be looking at that. Talked about keeping this additional one that we have rather than trading it in, so that there is a third vehicle available in the case of breakdowns, repairs, whatever the case may be, or in times when Hudson Days, other events going on that we may need that. Saving on wear and tear vehicles. Do want to see them come up with a replacement plan as every 2 years, every 4 years, whatever the schedule may be, and start to make sure that those funds are in reserves for those vehicles prior to them coming due. So Chief Banks was going to start working on that. They have switched some things up in the department since Chief Banks has been here, specifically writing city citations rather than state citations, which is generating a whole lot more income, sometimes between $900 to $1,000 a month that they're writing in those tickets that are coming in. So that can certainly be used as their money to help offset the cost of these vehicles, things like that they need. We do have a sergeant retiring at the end of 2020. At that time, Chief Banks wants to hire another full-time officer and may not replace the sergeant position, may just be an officer position. But he does want to continue to be that working supervisor without that set shift, so he can roam some of those shifts, be able to train, be able to do other things with that. Looking at future department staffing, both part-time officers right now that we have are willing to go up to full-time if we needed. So he is interested in promoting at least one of them up to full-time in addition to hiring that additional, so that there is that overlap of coverage a bit. But asked for more data to be compiled from other communities that are the same size as us to see what they have for staffing needs before we made any decisions for future planning. Obviously, with an increase of population, we want to make sure that we're having enough coverage that we can. Talked about grass clippings going into the streets, and I think we got that put out on Facebook right away on social media and possibly in the utility bills. I didn't look at that, but and then also asked the chief and other officers to keep an eye on golf carts, because I've had quite a few that I've seen that are not operating within the rules of golf cart usage with too many children or too many young ones with things like that on there. So they're going to pay attention to that. We adjourned at 4:29.
Thanks, Kate. Any questions for Kate?
What year is the truck?
One. I was gonna say, I think it's 17 and 18 right now because one of them had to be replaced with an accident. The Explorer,
Oh,
that's why
that's
it's
right.
closer in. Usually they're 2 years apart. So, yeah, that won't be coming up.
When I first started, I remember bringing up the idea of writing city tickets because we can, and one of the oppositions to that was that our guys are going to have to run to court more often. Is that happening?
There's been one, and it was a win.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I didn't sense that was really a legitimate argument back then, but I'm glad to hear that we're writing city tickets.
I agree with you, Matt.
Well, as long as he's been here.
Yeah, it's been about a year.
Great.
So,
And we have not changed the policy relative to writing a ticket versus a warning. It's not a case of going out there and doing a money grab.
no, because even if you look in the reports, it's not like, I always laugh when everybody talks about the big speed traps in Hudson. I'm like, yeah, we wrote like 8 tickets last month. Like, we gave out 30 warnings and like 8 tickets. So it's not anything that they're doing extra than that. But I think it is a better idea and we have a little more control of things that way. So Matt, yeah, I 100% agree. I'm glad it's moved in that direction.
Anything else for Kate? Thanks, Kate. Item A under general government, discussion action to approve resolution 2627, a resolution to approve bond purchase agreement for the sale of general obligation corporate purpose bonds, series 2020 thereunder. And before I get a motion, John Murphy's here from Spirit Financial. John, you want to give us the nice positive highlights of this one?
Sure, John.
Hello guys, how are you? John Murphy, Spirit Financial. Is Maggie, did she dial in? or-
Yep, I see.
All right.
Oh, that's her that's on there.
Hi,
Okay.
Maggie.
I don't know if she's muted or not. I'm here to report good news today. So we're here to recommend that the bonds be awarded to DA Davidson in the amount of $2,070,000, $474.30 at a true interest cost of 1.4367. So you see on the first page here, we show you the principal amounts and the amortization form that there will be, and then the interest rates with them. The reason why your true interest cost is lower than the interest rate shown is that they're giving you a premium. So in a sense, you're really selling $2 million worth of bonds. They're going to give you an extra $70,000 after you pay the underwriter that we're going to use towards the project. So the market today was good. Hudson's good. That's cheap money.
Yeah.
Flip to the second page. Chrissy was on the call there. I think you were on the call as well with
Yep.
Moody's. It's not a full credit opinion. If you remember back in September when we did the refunding, it was a full credit opinion. It was a 3 or 4 pages, very in depth. Because the audit wasn't finished at this time and it's approaching on the 365 day, they just do a press release. Chrissy provided fund balance, budgets, things like that. It all tied out. So they affirmed the city's rating as an A1, which is very good. Just 1 notch lower than the AA category. Solid, very solid. And you can see your bonds priced as almost like a AA. So for your review, we included the press release. It's a good read as well. If you flip a couple pages, you'll see like maybe 2 more. There you'll see this is your final debt service schedule. You sold the city sold fixed rate debt. So you can see that coupon right there all the way down. It's the same coupon on the first page. It's a 2%. We did here is for the protection of the city, we have a call line, which is on or after June 1 of 2027, is that the option of the city to do a couple things. The city can refund all the outstanding bonds that are maturing on or after June 1, 2027, apart. Hey, we've got a little bit of money ahead. We just want to buy up some of these maturities. And typically we would buy, the lower, the oldest maturity that, brings in the most interest. And with that, as it's a short presentation, we worked with DA Davidson on this. They helped us out, helping us structure that in the beginning. We were looking, the market right now is pretty much at 2% for bonds. What's going to happen with that 2% is the amount of premium that you get. And for what we did with the city and with Nate at D.A. Davidson is that we tried to work out, we didn't want too much premium. We knew how much we needed for the project. What we ended up doing was downsizing the bonds. Originally, it was going to be $2,105,000 to be sold. And when we were looking at the early pricing scales, we saw that, well, we were getting, what was it, close to $100,000 in premium. We just really didn't need. So what we said was, we'll take that premium, but we want you to buy off some of those maturities so that we don't have to issue all that. And the maturities we bought down was the 6/1/2031. You can see where it goes, 220,000 down to 120. We took some of that premium and said, here, give that back. We don't want it. We won't issue as much debt, which is good. So at that point in time, I will entertain any questions. But we are recommending that we award the bonds tonight at the price of $2,070,474.30.
Any questions for John? Not going to have a motion to approve?
Second, whichever.
Discussion? Roll call.
All right, Lawson.
Aye.
Engel.
Aye.
Wyatt. Reister.
Aye.
Bunce.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very much. Congratulations.
Thanks, Maggie.
Great sale.
Thanks, Maggie.
Item B, discussion action to approve resolution 2628, a resolution setting a public hearing to amend the code of ordinances of the city of Hudson, Iowa by adding chapter 24, city administrator, the city of Hudson code of ordinances. And this would be a public hearing for June 22nd. And that would be for the position of city administrator, because we don't have that currently in the ordinances.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
All right, Reister.
Aye.
Bunce.
Aye.
Wyatt. Engel.
Aye.
Lawson.
5-0. Item C, discussion action to approve resolution 2629, a resolution for approval of the 2020 organizational chart for the city of Hudson, Iowa. And that is as presented for the city administrator, basically picking up responsibilities for all the city staff other than police chief, fire chief.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Have a second. Discussion.
But I have a question.
Sure.
How are we approving the organizational chart listing the city administrator if we don't have the city administrator approved yet? Since we're just setting the public hearing for the 22nd.
I actually just went through my mind for the first time too.
Right. I mean, do we need to wait on this? I mean, I have no problem saying city clerk in that spot right now.
Okay.
But we can't approve a city administrator position if we don't have one.
So should we just table it till the next meeting?
Yeah, we could table the,
I'm fine with that, but I just want to make sure we're doing this correctly.
We've had it off to Heather. She didn't have any issues, but we never really talked about timing.
Right, it just doesn't exist yet, so you can't really put that in.
Yeah, other than the fact that if you approve the org chart, Chrissy's currently city clerk. It's simply you would have a city administrator position on the org chart that is not filled at this point in time until we do the ordinances. And so that anybody who would have been reporting into the city administrator will still be reporting to me because the city administrator not there.
Or can we just wait?
Doesn't go into effect until July 1st.
Or can we just wait 2 weeks then to redo this?
Because on June 22nd is when we have the ordinance, the first pass on it, with the opportunity to waive first and second, depending on how comfortable everybody is. So I would entertain a motion to table.
I would make a motion to table it until we get that done, just so that it's in the correct order.
Okay.
If we table this, if we
Oh.
table this, are we requiring ourselves to waive the first and second readings?
No, it's still separate. Organization chart is separate from the administrator position because we really got three things. And becomes a little bit complicated. You've got an org chart that has the city administrator. We have an ordinance to establish the city administrator and its responsibilities. We have a compensation package that is Chrissy. It doesn't say that it has to be a city administrator or city clerk. She's currently city clerk. The main thing about the compensation package is rolling. Here's the problem with it. because we're rolling into an exempt position on the salary. She can't be in an exempt position if she doesn't have this other reporting responsibilities as part of the whole piece. So they're all kind of together.
Where's Heather when you need her?
She's busy at a problem at another.
Because I thought he
city.
was like telling, I thought in the past she said do not table stuff because it was a mess and that you'd be better off than everybody voting it down and then just bringing it back to.
Well, I think we can pass the org chart. I mean, there's nothing binding.
And
that
it
says-
does say
No, there's
slash.
nothing binding within the org chart.
And there's
Because in
organizations all
the
over the place.
vacancy of somebody in that position, then it basically,
It has both things on there.
There's
City
organizations
clerk
all over
and
the place. that
city
are-
administrator.
The org chart's not full.
That don't have a city administrator section in their code, but they have a city.
Okay, well then I'll take back my table.
okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the original
I'm
motion
okay.
that has been seconded? Thanks for the clarifications, appreciate it.
I'm okay with
We've
doing it,
only
I
done
just want to
this-
make sure we're doing it
Okay,
right.
okay,
And I think Heather would have said,
yeah,
if it wasn't correct, she would have.
because she's seen the whole agenda. We always give them ahead of time and the whole thing.
All right, and if we need to change something, we'll change it next week.
So she moved,
She moved, you seconded, so
so
we're,
discussion.
yeah, we're still in
Okay, so I
discussion.
got a question.
Sure.
And that is, one of the knocks in Cedar Falls
Mhm.
is that the city administrator runs everything. Which some might look at as good. Others, don't.
Mhm.
And I'm just asking a question. I'm not against this, but how do we protect ourselves from a scenario where you have unelected people basically running the town?
Well, remember, under the
I'm
org
not even
chart,
talking
yeah,
about Christie, I'm
yeah.
talking about whoever fills that spot.
under our org chart, city administrator will report to the mayor,
Mhm.
as well as the council. And the mayor reports to the council. So to me, if there's an issue with a city administrator running too much of their own ship as
Mhm.
opposed to what the council and mayor,
Mhm.
to me, that's on the council and mayor, not on the city administrator.
Yeah, that's a sign of weak leadership,
Yeah.
really.
I also think it's a difference too, because there's a full-time mayor in Cedar Falls versus a part-time mayor here.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's one of the reasons we considered this was because the mayor, our current mayor, has been taking on more of the responsibilities.
The next one may not.
Right.
And that might be
100%
why you're not getting a lot of candidates, because they're concerned about how much they have to take on. Whereas we've invested within Chrissy, the education, and I thought the timing was just perfect, especially when you compare to the one other town that I put in there as far as comparison.
Well, okay, with that next one, are you,
That answer your question, Matt?
question,
Okay.
any other questions?
It's more a statement than a question, just like we need to be careful.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Let the train
Yep.
run off.
Do you want to do
Right.
this? Okay. That's my next question.
I wouldn't have gone to school for 4
All
years.
right,
of my
I'm just
life, but I
making
didn't.
sure that this is really the next step.
While
that
raising
you
100
want to do this. Right.
Any other questions? Roll call.
All right, Wyatt.
Hi.
Lund.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Eagle.
Thank you, 5-0. Item D, discussion action to approve resolution 2630, resolution setting wages for city employees of the city of Hudson, Iowa for fiscal year 2020, 2021. And this would actually be an effective date of June 22nd, which covers the 2-week period that July 1st falls into. Keeps from having to do
From a
all this prorated stuff.
second.
Discussion.
So when I look at this list,
Yep,
is
yep.
it page 21?
Yes, I think it is.
So Christie's only listed here once as city administrator, but you're folding clerk into that.
Yes,
So I mean, I shouldn't be looking for Christie in here twice.
correct. Yeah, we'll only pay her once, as much as she'd love to have twice.
I mean, I'd go to school for 4 years if you're gonna pay me twice. too.
Especially if you're gonna double it and be eligible for overtime for one of them.
And that's been moving effective June 22nd, then into an exempt position, so no overtime after that date. Any-
It's just where the pay period.
Well, and she shouldn't need the overtime because Katie should be filling more of those roles. Katie should be showing up to some
Yep.
of these meetings.
Yep.
Katie should be taking on more responsibility.
Especially if we
She
get a billing clerk.
can take on more
Yep.
responsibility of what George.
Yep. Absolutely. Further discussion? Roll call.
Eagle. Aye. Lund.
Aye.
Wyatt. Aye. Reister.
Aye.
Lawson.
5-0.
How your shucks.
No
All right.
turning back.
Item E, discussion action to approve resolution 2631, a resolution for approval of road closures for drive-through church services at Community Church of Hudson. Discussion.
Closing streets all over the place. I'm just kidding.
Oh, we are.
Roll call.
Reasoner. Engel.
Aye.
Watson. Bunce.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
5-0. Item F, discussion action to approve resolution 2632, resolution approving the transfer of funds for May 2020. This is the normal type of transfer. Discussion. Roll call.
Reasoner.
Aye.
Wyatt. Aye. Engel. Aye. Watson.
Aye.
Bunce.
5-0. Item G, discussion action to approve resolution 2633, a resolution accepting the resignation of employee, and that was Diana McCann from library.
Second.
Discussion. Roll
Just want
call.
to thank her
Oh.
for her years of service.
Yes.
Been here quite a while, hasn't she?
Yes.
20 years.
Something like that.
I don't know for sure.
We know her.
Okay, roll call.
Engel. Aye. Bunce.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Reasoner.
5-0. Number of informational items in there, reminder items, regularly scheduled meetings of council chambers except electric board and library board. Public Works Committee, June 10th, 7 a.m. Mayor's Task Force will be canceled. Personnel Admin Finance Committee meeting, June 22nd at 4:45 p.m. Public
May have to
Safety.
change that. I'll talk to you when we get closer to the date.
Public Safety, June 25th at 4 p.m. Next council meeting is June 22nd at 6 p.m. and July 13th at 6 p.m.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I may be working till 5 that day.
There
I
you go.
probably have softball that day anyway, so
Everything good?
it would be
Yeah.
okay to
Good.
switch it.
Well, good. That was nice there. Yeah.